Hey, what's up guys, SaintGreenz here. How are you all doing? I hope you all are doing great. Welcome back to the channel. Now on to the story. Chapter 1, The Ninja Meets the Vampire. Elemental Nations. Naruto couldn't help but feel sad and betrayed by Sasuke, who wanted to kill all the Kages after everything they just faced together from Madara to Kagaya. Now the blonde had to defeat the Uchiha to protect his loved ones. Stop this, Sasuke. We can find a better way than killing the Kages to change the ninja world, Naruto said, trying to reason with his rival. But it seemed to fall on deaf ears. We have nothing to talk about after I kill you. I will kill all the Kages and start a revolution, creating a world where the Uchiha will reign supreme, Sasuke exclaimed, making Naruto see just how crazy he had become. Naruto was afraid of this. He seemed he would not be able to keep his promise to bring Sasuke back to Sakura. The Uchiha was just too far gone mentally. You are right, we don't have anything to talk about. Naruto said as his six-path chakra cloak shimmered brighter and a truth-seeking ball shot out at Sasuke, who had his Susanoo activated. So I see you found your resolve to kill me, Naruto, Sasuke exclaimed as he used his Indra arrows to slow down the truth-seeking ball and used his Rinnegan teleportation ability to get behind Naruto and used his Susanoo fist to slam into the blonde, sending him flying. It doesn't have to be this way, Sasuke, Naruto said as he cancelled the momentum of Sasuke's attack by floating in midair using his six-path powers. Naruto created several clones and had them attack Sasuke, distracting him so that he could sneak in for a surprise attack. Naruto shouted out wind-style big ball Rasengan as he slammed the attack against the side of Susanoo. Naruto's attack was able to break through Susanoo and hit Sasuke, to the Uchiha's great surprise. Before the attack could fully engulf him, however, Sasuke put all of his power into his Rinnegan and created a portal to another dimension in front of Naruto. Naruto's attack exploded, hitting Sasuke and causing him to scream in pain before he dropped to the ground, dying from the effects of Naruto's attack. I may die here, but you will never fulfill your dream either, the Uchiha said weakly as life left his body. Naruto tried to pull himself away from the portal Sasuke had created, but no matter what he did, it felt as if he was being sucked into a black hole. He even attempted to use a substitution jutsu with a clone, but it didn't work. It looked like you were right, Sasuke, Naruto said as he saw Kakashi and Sakura trying to reach him, but it was too late, the portal had already sucked him in completely. Castlevania, Nocturne Verse. The portal that Sasuke created spat out the blonde in a city that was being attacked by vampires. A white-haired man was attacking the vampires with his magic and whip, killing them. Naruto watched it happen from the sidelines, feeling faint as he had been fighting non-stop for days without any rest, and in order to survive the trip through the portal, Kurama had to use a lot of power, which made the tailed beast have to hibernate in order to recover, making Naruto's healing abilities slower than usual. Naruto saw a vampire about to land an attack from the shadows on the white hair man. So on instinct created a Rasengan with his remaining chakra and slammed it into the vampire's back, sending it into the ground. The white-haired man saw all this as he finished off the last of the vampires. Naruto's vision went dark and he passed out. Belmont House. Naruto woke up in an unfamiliar bed. He first panicked before remembering what had happened. He then realized he didn't know where he was, then the door to the room opened and a girl around his age with brown hair and purple eyes entered. So you are finally awake, the teenage girl said. We were starting to think that you were in a coma after you slept for 3 days. The statement made no sense to Naruto, who didn't understand a word of it. I don't understand what you just said, do you speak elemental? Naruto asked, but all he got back was a confused stare. It seemed she didn't understand him either. Well, this is awkward, the girl said, but only received a confused look from the blonde. Okay, well, my name is Julia Belmont. The teenager gestured to herself. What's your name? She now gestured at him. Naruto seemed to understand what she was saying and repeated her name before gesturing to himself and saying Uzumaki Naruto. So your name is Uzumaki Naruto, the girl said. Okay, Uzumaki, she continued. My dad brought you here because you fainted near where he was fighting some vampires. He couldn't just leave you there, so he brought you here to our house. Naruto didn't understand most of what the girl was saying, but he figured the guy who he had saved brought him here, which might be his home, and this girl must be a relative. The two tried to communicate to little success. All they knew about each other were their names, and when Naruto mentioned things like Konoha, the word just went over Julia's head. Naruto knew that it was a long shot, but he had to confirm that he was no longer in his own dimension, but a brand new one. From what Julia told him, he was in a place called Boston, which he was sure wasn't a place within the elemental nations. Fast forward, dining room. Just Belmont had been watching the blonde ever since he allowed him to stay with his family. He was a foreigner. From the way he spoke and to his appearance, which looked nothing like the natives of the country. The family plus one were sitting down to have dinner that his wife Liddy had prepared for them. The blonde-haired boy named Naruto was a mystery to say the least. He appeared out of nowhere and had some weird abilities such as creating clones of himself and walking on water. That particular ability almost made people believe he was the second coming of Christ. Now here the blonde is talking. Naruto used Shadow Clone to learn the language, to his daughter who has all but blossomed into a beautiful young woman about something. She was showing signs of liking the blonde a bit more than he would have liked, but his wife Liddy had forbidden him to interfere and let nature take its course. The only saving grace was that the blonde was an oblivious idiot who couldn't tell that his daughter was so clearly into him. Julia was all but dry humping the blonde to the father's horror and amusement. So, Naruto, Julia said as she leaned closer to the blonde, making sure he had a clear view down her top, which was a tight white blouse that showed a lot of cleavage. Are you coming to hunt vampires with me and my father later? I wouldn't mind going. It has been a while since we went out together on a hunt, Naruto stated. While the father-daughter duo usually went hunting, the blonde would stay back to guard Lydia, who was a normal person with no power or fighting abilities. That's great, we should call Uncle Maxim to watch over her while we are away, Julia said. I was starting to worry you were trying to charm my mother. Julia half-joked, causing Lydia to laugh, just choked on the food he was eating, and Naruto blushed as a stuttered denial came out. I wasn't doing that. Naruto exclaimed, embarrassed by his friend's words. Well, it could have fooled me with the amount of time you spent with my mom. Julia stated as she was starting to get frustrated that the blonde idiot had not taken the hint that she liked him a lot. That's enough teasing your friend Julia, just Belmont said as he rose from the dining room table. But you do have a point, our guest hasn't been out hunting lately. I will send a message to Maxim and once he arrives, we will go vampire hunting. Fast forward. Boston, night time. Naruto, Just and Julia were now on the hunt for a group of vampires that had been terrorizing the night skies of Boston. Entire families were being wiped out, and some were even being turned to increase the numbers of the coven. This new world that Naruto finds himself in is one filled with bloodthirsty monsters known as vampires who have a variety of abilities from transformation to blood manipulation. So, do we have any idea where we can find these vampires? Julia asked, but her father didn't reply. He kept looking around for any sneak attacks. I guess we can go to the area where I feel the most negative emotions are coming from, Naruto replied as he began to walk in the direction he felt a feeling of despair. Your abilities are so freaky, Julia teased with a smile. Watching as the blonde shot her a glare. She stuck out her tongue at him and wiggled her eyebrows, challenging him to do something about what she said. The blonde then focused on the intense feeling of despair he just felt and started to run towards it, leading him to a rundown apartment building that had seen better days. I think the vampires might be inside, Naruto stated as he could smell blood in the air. What's the game plan? The blonde looked at Just to see what he would suggest they do. I think we should burn the place down and flush the vampires out. Then kill them one by one, Just stated. There could be humans inside, Naruto said. We'll be killing them if we set fire to the place. If there are humans inside there, they are either infected or being used as a blood bank, Just said. Killing them would be a mercy. I understand where you're coming from, but let me try first, Naruto said. I can send in my shadow clones and have them distract the vampires while rescuing anyone who needs it. Sigh, just said as he knew that the chances of the blonde saving a life in there were little to none. Do what you want. The blonde nodded his head and he created 4 shadow clones, while Naruto had 1 clone go ahead to see if there were any weak spots in the building he could sneak into, and the remaining 3 rushed into the entrance to give the appearance of a frontal attack. The blonde's idea worked to some extent as the vampires inside attacked the 3 clones with their various abilities, ranging from blood manipulation to transforming into a giant wolf. The Naruto clones used wind jutsu and taijutsu to defend themselves, and by time for the 4th clone to penetrate the building and rescue any survivors. The first thing Naruto's clone noticed when he entered the building was the scent of death that stained every wall, accompanied by the stench of human excretion. Ah! Clone Naruto heard a female voice cry out in pain from the basement of the apartment building. The clone raced down the stairs to the basement and discovered a young blonde girl whose blood was being drained by a male vampire who was savoring the girl's cries of pain. The smile on his face and the slow pace at which he was siphoning her life away were all too clear indications of his intentions. Naruto reacted instantly, drawing his kunai and infusing it with his wind chakra before throwing it at the vampire's head. The vampire must have seen it coming and used the girl's body as a shield. The kunai pierced through the girl's chest and entered into the vampire's stomach, making him yell out in pain and anger. He then threw the girl aside as if she were trash. The clone, quick to react, caught the girl before she could hit the ground and watched as she tried to take a breath. Her lung had been destroyed by him inadvertently. The clone knew the blonde girl didn't have much longer to live. He could heal her enough for the original to save her life, but he doubted this pissed-off vampire in front of him would give him the time to do so. Hey, keep your eyes open, everything is going to be okay, Clone Naruto said as he held the bleeding girl close, never taking his eyes off the enraged vampire. You shouldn't make promises you can't keep, the vampire said. He was a tall, pale-skinned man with brown hair and red eyes. Don't worry, the blonde said as he discreetly applied healing chakra to the girl's body while he was bantering with the vampire. I intend to keep my word, I also promise to slay you before this night is done. You are a brave one, I will make sure to beat it out of you before I drain you dry, the vampire said with a sadistic smile. Now, enough talking, time to die. The vampire formed a sword from his hair and launched himself at the blonde. The blonde took out another kunai and infused it with wind chakra, meeting the vampire in a clash of blades. While this was happening, he was still holding on to the girl, whose breathing had become much easier due to his healing chakra. You are something special, aren't you? The vampire said as he re-evaluated the blonde who was able to keep up with him despite having a teenage girl in his arms. Looking at the girl, he noticed she had stopped bleeding and was now sleeping in the blonde male's arms. I am not special. But I am your death, Naruto stated as he jumped back from the vampire and performed one-hand seals before blades of wind flew at the vampire from all directions. Time to leave. Naruto used his attack on the vampire as a distraction to allow the clone to guide the girl to the original and to safety. Clone Naruto looked to see the vampire hot on his tail even though he had been injured by his wind attacks, but was healing at an accelerated rate. The clone added more chakra to his feet to increase his running speed until he became a blur and jumped through a window with the vampire right behind him. Before the vampire could attack, the clone heard the original cry out Rasengan, and the vampire was sent flying back into the apartment building with half of his body missing. I found this girl being used as a blood bank by the vampire you just attacked. She's fatally injured, but I used my chakra to heal her enough for you to save her. The clone said before adding, you will see everything I did or heard when I dispel. The original Naruto had taken the girl from the clone before it dispels itself. The blonde girl was barely conscious, but she saw what transpired with Naruto saving her from being drained by the vampire with some strange powers. Naruto got the clone's memories and understood why his clone hadn't killed the vampire yet. It was more focused on healing and protecting the girl in its arms. Naruto began using the Yang seal he had retained from the Third Ninja War and healed the girl to full health. The blonde male watched as just fought the vampires alongside Julia with her magic and her whip. Soon, all the vampires were eliminated, and the blonde just stood there with a sleeping blonde girl in his arms. For some reason, Julia was glaring at the oblivious blonde, but Naruto didn't know what he had done to anger her. He sent just a confused look, but all the man gave him in return was a look of pity. Just as he watched the scene play out in front of him between his daughter and the mysterious male he let live with them, it seemed his wife was right about them. It was only a matter of time before they got together. Naruto just had to get the hint that his daughter liked him more than a friend, otherwise she would just have to jump him. "Let us get out of here," just said tiredly after watching his daughter and her crush act like a married couple. Belmont House. By the time they made it back home, just wanted to lock Naruto and Julia in a room so they could finally get together. They acted more like a married couple than he did with his wife. It almost pained him just to admit it. But his daughter was her own person and would have to make her own decisions and make her own mistakes, including who she chose to get into a relationship with. Julia had taken the girl from Naruto some time ago during their journey back home. She had made the excuse that she didn't want him to feel up the girl he just rescued, but it was obvious to anyone with a brain that Julia took the girl out of the blonde's arms out of jealousy. Here they are in front of his home with Julia with a blonde girl on her back and a confused Naruto looking at just to explain what is going on. Just suddenly felt old, so he just opened the front door and ignored his wife, Lydia, and best friend Maxim greeting and went straight to bed. "I'm getting too old for this shit," just said as he slammed his bedroom door behind him. Lydia took a look at Julia and the girl on her back, along with the confused Naruto, and she broke out into giggles, making her daughter blush as her mother probably figured out what had happened by just looking at them. "Julia, dear," Lydia said, "you have become a beautiful young lady." She paused and smiled. "It's time you started acting like one if you want to catch your man." Julia blushed even more profoundly and rushed to her room with the blonde girl still unconscious in her arms, making Lydia shake her head before turning to Naruto. "Welcome back," Lydia greeted the blonde with a smile. "Thank you, it is good to be back," Naruto replied before turning to Maxim. "Thank you for looking after everything while we were away." "It's no big deal," Maxim said. "Just as my best friend. It's normal for me to help him out from time to time." Maxim realized that Julia had a crush on the blonde guy his best friend had living with him, but he is as dense as a rock. Fast forward. The blonde girl eventually woke up and told everyone that her name is Tara, and she hails from Russia. Apparently she fled the country because of violent military groups who have since recruited vampires into their ranks. Most of her family was killed, and her younger sister had been turned into a vampire, so she mercy killed her. After hearing her story, Lydia gave the girl a tight hug, which she returned and cried until no more tears came. She finished her story by telling the group that she had planned to flee east, but was drugged by a kindly couple who were helping her on her travels and shipped her off here, where she was used as a blood bank. "It sounds like you were tricked by humans who ally themselves with vampires," just said. He knew that humans often allied themselves with vampires for various reasons, including protection, money, and power. "Yes," Maxim said in agreement. "I had to deal with quite a few of them." Nobody asked what he meant by saying deal with them, because those types of people would sell others as food to vampires. They only deserved death. Lydia saw the girl looking depressed, having gone through so much in such a short time. She couldn't help but feel for her. Lydia said, "You remember this young man?" She motioned for Naruto to step forward, attempting to change the topic. "He's the one that saved you." Naruto stepped forward and introduced himself. "Hello there, my name is Naruto." "Thank you so much for saving me," Tara said as she looked at her savior. "I was sure I was going to die back there." "There is no need for thanks, I am happy to help a maiden in need," Naruto replied with a bow, acting dramatically to lighten the girl's mood. Tara giggled as she continued to talk with the blonde man who had started to tell her about his adventures, some of which sounded too far-fetched to believe, but she didn't interrupt him as she found his story interesting. Through all of this, Julia was starting to look more and more annoyed as Naruto and Tara got closer. It continued until she threw a pillow she had taken from the bed at Naruto, surprising him and his new friend. "What was that for, Julia?" Naruto exclaimed. You just threw the pillow at me for no reason. I did that to save our new friend here from your perverted hands, Julia replied, turning her nose up at the blonde as if she hadn't done anything wrong. Just and Maxim watched this play out with a groan and left the room to pour themselves a drink. Lydia soon followed the two men out to make sure they didn't drink too much, all the while giggling at the sight of her daughter's childish behavior. I don't think Naruto was being a pervert, Julia, he was just trying to distract me from my bad memories, Tara said in Naruto's defense. Don't make excuses for him. If given the chance, he would have done all kinds of nasty things to you, Julia exclaimed with a scowl, making both blondes blush. Naruto said, Julia, you're going too far. While trying to make her stop making him look like a pervert in front of Tara. I wouldn't mind if Naruto wanted to do lewd things with me, Tara said in a low voice, not meeting anyone's eyes, but her face was practically steaming. The room was silent for a moment as Naruto and Julia were stunned by what Tara had said, but Julia snapped out of it first. What do you mean you would mind if that pervert did lewd things to you? Julia shouted, but Tara raised her head and glared at Julia, surprising everyone in the room. As I said, I wouldn't mind if my savior wanted to be with me in a physical way, Tara said as she continued her stare down with Julia. Naruto's jaw dropped to the floor as Tara and Julia started to glare at each other. Naruto was sure he saw sparks flying from their eyes. The blonde didn't know what brought this on, but it looked like the Belmont household was going to get a lot more interesting. Chapter end. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and set up notification. You can also join my Patreon for early access and exclusive content. SaintGreenz out until next time.